The old guys would get pretty excited if they caught you climbing a hill at 1200 RPM. You're lugging the engine, they'd say. You're going to burn the valves. Well, there's no longer really any need to go screaming up a hill at 1800 RPM, but some old habits do die hard. Just wait till you see how Daimler's DD15 engine and the DT12 transmission handle a few big hills. Hi, I'm freelance trucking journalist Jim Park. We're just outside of Vallejo, California at the Hunter Hill Rest Area. I'm about to take Freightliner's new 12-speed automated transmission, the DT12, down and then back up the Hunter Hill to see how it manages a long pull on a 6% grade. In parts 1 and 2 of this series, we saw how the transmission handles the basic stuff, stopping and starting and city driving, and we explored the differences between economy, performance, and manual modes on a few small grades. If you haven't seen those yet, make sure you check them out. You'll see how an automated transmission can make an average driver good, and a good driver really good at saving fuel. As I mentioned back in the opening, it's not uncommon today to see a driver climbing a mountain grade at 17 or 1800 RPM. I think that's because the engine feels like it's pulling better at that speed. While it may feel that way and even sound that way, in fact you're actually losing pulling power at the higher RPM. As I've noted in previous videos, the engine's best pulling power is lower down in the speed range, usually somewhere between 1100 and 1400, because that's where all the torque is. Some automated transmissions tend to shift higher than I think they need to, and consequently hill climbing takes place at unnecessarily high engine speeds. Check out the DD15 and the DD12 as they haul me up the Hunter Hill at a very efficient engine speed. We pick up with an upshift while climbing from 11th into 12th gear.
And shift up into 12th there at 15 as we were climbing, still going up, so transmission is doing a great job on these upshifts, especially going uphill. Low RPM, nice positive shift, real treat. Okay, we're starting another climb here, going into the bottom of it. We're about 57, 58. Start to drop here. Down to 1100 before she makes the downshift. 1100 up to 1400. Dropping from 12th to 11th gear. And here comes another one. 1100 RPM drops us down to 10th gear at 1300.
And now check this out. The transmission holds the truck in gear a little longer than usual.
1600 RPM, 9th gear, still pulling. Make this shift in a couple of seconds, probably get to the top of the hill. As soon as it senses the grade change, it'll pull the shift off. Shifted at 1650. And that shift was at 14. This goes to show you how the truck is reading the road and the grade and the power demand, and shifting accordingly. It still recognizes the heavy load because of the upgrade. It doesn't shift. It senses the grade changing, leveling out a bit, the power demand's not quite as much, it makes the shift. Pretty smart.
A couple of minutes later, I came to the crest of another hill, so I flipped the transmission into manual mode to see if I could keep it in gear a little while longer and let the revs drift down even lower. I have the advantage over the engine here of being able to see the top of the hill, while the transmission can only sense the grade and the power demand. By backing off the throttle near the top of the hill, I was able to keep it in gear a bit longer and prevent a downshift.
I'm backing my foot out of it a bit here. See if I can get this thing not to downshift. We're at 1150, 12th gear, 54 miles an hour. Just came over the top of that small crest, and just by backing my foot out of it a little bit, lowering the demand on it, it elected, I guess, not to make that downshift. So saved a little bit of money in fuel. You know, a driver might be bored having nothing to do with a manual gear shift anymore. There's nothing there to put your right arm on, but certainly there's lots going on up here where a driver who wanted to can work this system pretty hard and do the best you can to get even better fuel economy out of it by watching the engine speed and trying to predict what the engine's going to do or the transmission's going to do when it comes to shifting. So there's still plenty of stuff to be engaged by if the driver chose to take an active role in managing fuel economy with a truck like this. This transmission is going to be really, really good for drivers who are really, really good already.
Our final in-cab clip here is a testament to the torque of the DD15 and the transmission's tuning for low RPM operation. My turnaround point was Red Top Road, exit 39A on Interstate 80. It's a few miles from the summit of the hill, leaving us with a good climb from a dead stop at Red Top Road. Watch as the DD15 powers up this hill and how low the DT12 shifts. It's using all the torque the engine can crank out, and it's keeping the shift points amazingly low to achieve the best torque and the best fuel economy.
All right, now we're turning west onto 80 off of Red Top Road. We got a pretty steep climb here as we get back onto the highway. This is a bit of a chore, but I'm going to leave it in econo mode going up here. I think this is the more dramatic of the two. I'm in 6th gear now, just rounding the corner, 1600 RPM, makes the shift, takes us down to 1100 in 7th gear, and you can see we're going up a pretty steep hill. I'm not going fast, mind you, just 15 miles an hour, but the engine really wants to keep this thing low. The transmission really wants to keep the engine RPM down. Another shift at 1600, we're down to 12 now in 8th gear, 1200 RPM in 8th, climbing as we come up the on-ramp, and we're just coming into the merge lane of the highway. Another shift, that time at 1400 into 9th gear, takes us down to 1100 RPM on a grade like this, because the system knows it can do it. I love it.
A little later in the day, I ran that hill again, but that time in performance mode, and the transmission did take the revs quite a bit higher, much like a typical driver would. If that doesn't convince you that the transmission is serious about fuel economy, nothing will. In this 3-video series, we saw how the transmission handles city driving, easy on the upshifts, lots of skip shifting, and with the most amazingly smooth clutch engagement. We saw the economy and performance modes in operation, and finally, we saw how a driver can sometimes outshift an automated transmission, even one as smart as this one. For today's Trucking's Ultimate Test Drive series, I'm freelance journalist Jim Park from the Hunter Hill Rest Area near Vallejo, California. Drive safe and keep your revs down.